Hello everyone, Rebus here, welcoming you to a review for the game Dungreed. This recently came out, and I actually picked it up because I was really curious about the art style and that are roguelike. I kind of want to go over some of the things about this game that really enticed me, and if you should actually pick up a game like this. So first of all, the story of Dungreed. Basically, this town is sucked up by this kind of dungeon-esque portal. It looks kind of like a demonic monster that just kind of comes out of the ground and crushes down on anything that gets under it. So initially it sucks up everything, and you are a hero sent by the king to basically investigate this dungeon, go into this dungeon, and help out the townspeople. So you go into this dungeon, and you'll find certain townspeople being attacked. They're in some of the side rooms. So far in my gameplay, I've found a few of them, beaten the first boss of the game. So there's kind of this sense of more of an actual going down, finding the people, and then from there you can take them back to the village, and at the village they then open up shops if you pay for their shops. And these shops can end up having items or training your skills. So it's kind of this unique counterplay of Hammerfall and those kinds of games. So that's kind of the basic overall story of this. The one thing I will say about this game is this game really reminds me of an older game that came out, I believe 6-ish years ago, called Rogue Legacy. So in Rogue Legacy, you were basically entering into a dungeon to fight what I assume is a king, and you fought these different sets of bosses and everything. The main difference is when you were playing Rogue Legacy, when your character died, he went on and he died. There's no coming back from him dying in the game. You would end up having an heir take his place. And the game kind of focused more on the aspects of these different heirs. Dungreed does have a lot of similarities with that. The art style kind of does remind me of it. And there's two separate games going on right now that you can kind of see the comparison between the two of them. Dungreed, where it does strive to be different though, is there is a variety of actual weapons you can get and use in different skills, that kind of stuff. Dungreed's more focused around that. You can pick up a wand, you can use the wand to attack. In Rogue Legacy, you were limited to one weapon pretty much. They both do share similar aspects of building up the town and having the town kind of come to life. But overall, there is enough difference to make them two different games. I want to believe that the one was inspired, Dungreed was inspired by Rogue Legacy. I'm not sure if that's actually the case or not with this, but they do look alike. Dungreed does have some good sound to it. I love how all the weapons interact and sound. Some of them have some kind of funny-ish sounds, the bow staffs and everything kind of make it sounds like a helicopter blade, going, it's the which I kind of enjoy. It's kind of humorous to me in that aspect. Sound-wise, the music, everything's fine with that. I do enjoy that aspect of it. Control-wise, this is where I have a really bad time with Dungreed, to be honest. The controls are very odd. If you go too far up with either the mouse or the controller, you get this weird, jittery, where it'll shoot up and down, and it's almost too difficult to play the game using it. I've actually started to switch back over to the keyboard and mouse, just because I felt like I was actually getting a little bit more control of the camera. It just felt really awkward. There was no good way to manage the camera without this kind of sudden shake. And it also reflects into the game that with the controls, when you get hit and such, you have this real weird like shaking of the screen. So it's kind of an odd like control scheme. Also, if you're playing on the controller, you're gonna have to switch your initial setup. Just straight off, like, you'll end up having it where the attack is on like the right bumper, the jump is on the left bumper, the dash is on the like trigger, Y is to switch weapons, X is to interact with things, A is to use like your special ability that only certain weapons have. So there's a lot of weird like choice with that around it. So it's kind of an odd. So final thoughts on this game. What do I think about Dungreed? I'm having a blast playing it. To be honest, I am loving everything about this game. I enjoy roguelikes, like I said before. So I do enjoy the actual dungeon diving, finding weird weapons, because there is a crap ton of weird weapons. Some of the funnier ones I found was like the sword in the stone, but instead of it just being the sword, it's actually attached to like a piece of earth. So like you're actually swinging the whole thing around with you. You also end up having like weapons like chakrams. You end up having like throwing knives, shotguns, arrows, everything. So you kind of have this more like weird approach. Like, depending on what you buy and depending on what you find, determines like how you're going to play the game. For instance, I don't like close range weapons. I tend to be more of like the long distance weapons. So when I find like the blunderbuss, I'm happy. That's what I'm going to use like for most of the. It lets me stay far away. Other weapons do have special abilities. Like I know the Gladius weapon ends up boosting your attack for like 15 seconds. The other nice thing about this game is there's actually a lot of like ability when you're in the dungeon to actually buy and interact with people. There's shops set up. There's like cooking. You can eat like different foods. So there's a constant thing to spend money on in the game. And since you're like kind of getting at least some weapons from actually fighting different monsters and clearing these rooms, you don't feel, at least initially, you don't feel like you're forced into like conserving all your money. Also, unless you're finding people or buying stuff at the shop, there's really no reason to keep holding on to money. Because once you've built their shop and everything, the only things you really initially have are access to weapons. So it kind of has this weird like balance of like just keep spending money. Just if you are weak in the dungeon and you want to get further, buy like some food. If your weapons aren't performing, buy a sword or something from the shop keep like inside the dungeon. So I like that aspect. The one thing that does kind of hurt is initially your progress is very, very, very fast. You'll start leveling up repeatedly. And it's kind of this nice, like, oh yeah, leveling up, and once you get the guy that trains you, you can level up your perks. The problem is at a certain point, you kind of do hit this, like, weird wall. It doesn't seem like, at least initially, at least as far as I am, there's no quick way to skip to, like, other floors. I know the issue I had is I keep going through the jail. Well, I've been through the jail, like, enough times that I kind of wish there was, like, a skipping thing. And there's not. So you kind of get used to bosses, but you also kind of get tired of fighting the same bosses, especially if you do have like just a mess up. I also do like how you can dash through. You can dash, but you can't dash through objects, at least not initially. So it's an interesting game. I am enjoying it. It's not badly priced. I mean, I think it was like $10-ish, something like that, something along that price range. And it is a lot of fun to play. There are a couple glitches with it, but overall, it's a good game. I recommend it. I'm probably actually going to do a playthrough series, at least a little bit on it. At least get a couple episodes, beat maybe one or two of the bosses, and we'll see how far we get with it. But I would definitely recommend Dungreed if you do like roguelikes. So if you like these reviews, if you're enjoying them, please let me know. I do enjoy some comments and likes and that kind of stuff. just to let me know that they are going well. And this is Rebus saying, I'll catch you next time.